Welcome to Espresso class number 1. Go ahead and grab your cup of coffee or hot tea that you would like to enjoy this with. And we're starting standing today, and if you would like to grab a pair of blocks, you are more than welcome to. Feet are going to be hip width apart. Find soft knees. Feel the ribs stack over the pelvis. The shoulders melt away from the ears. Eyes can be open or closed depending on how you're feeling about your balance. And take a moment to breathe. Notice the way your feet feel on the surface beneath you. Perhaps you smell your beverage. Let your shoulders melt. Take a sip. Enjoy the flavor. We'll take 3 more breaths. If you'd like to pair it with taking a sip, you're more than welcome to, but eventually we're going to have to put it down. Good. Last breath in. And let it go. Okay, so we're starting off with a simple movement, marching in place. You want to make sure the knees aren't coming across the body, that if you had a bowl of water or even a cup of tea on your head, that you're able to balance, and you get to choose if you want this to be faster or slower. And you're looking to not stick out the butt, like trying not to get your heels towards your butt. You're rising your knees up towards your chest. So we're warming up these hip flexors. And while you're marching, just take the left arm and begin to draw it backwards. If this is feeling a little clunky, roll the shoulder instead, or put the hand on the shoulder and just roll it backwards. My hip flexors are already warm. Go ahead and switch sides. Breathe. Remember, you get to go slow or as fast as you need. And then we'll go back to the left side and draw the arm circles forward. If at any point in time you need to stop marching, please do so. Switch sides. We're almost done. And then pause. Feet are again hip width. We're beginning to work on abduction. So we worked on our front to back muscles. Now we're side to side. So notice that I'm not leaning over to help lift my leg. My torso stays the same while I take my foot out to the side. And from the side, this looks like pretty up and down. I'm not reaching my ribs forward. I'm trying to stay stacked over my pelvis. We got a few more of these. No worries. Go ahead and then pause. Take your feet a little wider than hip width apart. Working into these lat muscles, side bending left and right, keeping a softness in the knees. If one of the knees ends up bending a little more, know that that's okay, but feel that you're reaching all the way from the outside of your foot to the tips of your fingers, stretching out the spaces. And then we got a little bit of twisting. I like to tuck my toes when I go left and right, just so I can stretch the top of the foot. This is supposed to feel a little loose, less structured. And you want to feel the torso rotating over the front knee, the arms, a little bit like Jello. Good. Few more. Take your time. The head is tall and proud. And then pause. Last but not least, one of my favorite things, roller coasters. That's what I call them, but you can, call them whatever you want. So as you side bend to one side, I want you to feel your torso get heavy as your chest drops towards the floor. You're now looking at the space behind you. And then you're coming up on the other side. Your elbow is soft as you use the obliques to lift you upright. And then you go the other way. Now, you get to decide what you want to do with your arms. If you're feeling a little bit of crazy inflatable arm guy, you can do that. If you would rather grab elbows to give them a place to be, you can do that, and you get to decide. Do you want to fall slowly? Do you want to add a little bit of momentum to it? But you want to, at the very least, keep the knees soft because this is beginning to open up the hamstrings. Good. And after your last one, find grounding, stability. And our last thing we're doing is just a little bit of rebounding. So you can keep your heels down if balance tends to become an issue. The heels can lift if you want to add a little bit of spring in your step. And again, I want you to embody Jello. So I know this class is called Espresso, but we also want to feel a little bit like Jello. You can shake out the arms. You can actually hop if you're feeling warm enough to hop. And then I want you to pause and feel the tinglies. And take a breath in. You can grab a sip. And then exhale. Okay, so this next part, we're starting to slow down and stretch. So, I like to use blocks for this. You're more than welcome to use a chair. We're opening up the hamstrings. So feet are hip width apart, toes face forward. Soften the knees, send your hips back, and bring your hands to blocks. My preferred level is on medium, but you could also do a little bit higher. Who cares? You know, just find a long spine. If you find that you're rounding, that's when you bring the surface up a little bit. From here, we're doing elephant walks. So my one knee bends a little bit more than the other, and you'll notice this leg is straightening. And then the other knee bends, the other straightens. My heels stay on the floor. My palms are flat. If you're looking for more wrist stretching, you can turn the palms to face back towards you. And take it slow. Breathing in. Maybe staying in one spot more than the other. Notice if your toes want to grip the floor, can you let that go? Try not to lock out your knees either. I know it's a lot to think about. We're waking up the brain too. Good. And then settle with soft knees. Put the blocks aside. And take a sip. So it wouldn't be an espresso class without a little bit of abdominal work. And I didn't want us to go all the way on the floor today. I wanted to do a little bit of oblique since we've been opening up that area. Roll on to your right side. Elbow is under shoulder, and I want you to feel that these ribs, the bottom ones, are lifting away from the floor by pushing your forearm down into the mat. And then your knees are at about a 45-degree angle. You press into the shins and the hips, lift. Your palm can be flat or thumb up. Reach your top arm up and over. And this can be it for you. You can stay here. I'm going to give you more options though. Lower and lift. And because we've been working a little bit on this whole body, hip and core integration, as you lift, you can lift your top leg and lower it as you lower down. I want you to mind your ribs. Don't let them thrust forward. This is so warm. 3, 2, and 1. Lower your hips and switch sides. Hand on ribs, lift your lower ribs, and you can again stick with no abduction of your top hip. Or it lifts and then you lower. It lifts and then you lower. Slow and controlled. Good. And then lower. Come on up to seated. You get to decide. You can extend one leg out long or keep it tucked for seated twist. Finding some rotation in the upper body. Both your sits bones are grounded down. Begin to slow down your breath as we near the end of class. And begin to start our day. Or continue our day, depending on when you're doing this. Switch sides. Think of your twist as coming from your core, not because you're pulling on your knee. Last breath in. Come back to center. Doing some seated neck stretches. You can sit in a chair. I like to sit on a block to give me a little extra space. Legs can be crossed or out long. Take your right ear to your right shoulder. Bring your left arm down to the floor. I want you to imagine that your chin, if you were at level, all you're doing is taking ear to shoulder as opposed to lifting the chin. You can use a hand to either add a weight on top of your head or to comb down the fascia from your jaw. Take your chin to your chest. Bring the right hand to the ground. Bring your head back to center now. And then take the left ear to the left shoulder, deciding what you want to do with your other hand. And then bring your hand under your head and push it upright. Look over one shoulder. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. You can use 2 of your fingers to help encourage more rotation. You're looking for your chin to roughly be over your collarbone, and if it's not there, just notice where it is. Switch sides. And perhaps in time, as you do this class a little more, you'll notice your mobility start to change. And then come back to center. Grab your coffee or tea. Take a moment to notice how you feel before you go about your day. Taking a breath in and then letting it out. Have a lovely rest of your day.